Morning. Now, I want to speak to a lawyer because at this time of, well, any time of the day, maybe a lawyer is a good man to have on hand. But Graeme Moore is with the BLM company, BLM Law, and there are a number of challenges facing businesses as they open again after the lockdown, with the lockdown being loosened to some extent in terms of public liability and the general changes that are happening. Graeme, good morning to you. I presume CEOs of companies and HR managers, they're very aware that it's a different world. What should they be looking out for?
Well, good morning, Frank. You're absolutely right. It is a different world. I think a lot of people that have been traditionally used to working in the place of employment have now got used to working from home, and a lot of people have seen benefits in that. I don't know if you've had a chance to work from home yourself, Frank, during this time, but
actually, I'm at the very minute, at this moment, I'm broadcasting from home. I have been for umpteen weeks. Yeah. I must tell you a story about this. Maybe you're the man, Graeme. You're the man, right? I do the radio from home, and I do my television input from the studio. So I have to travel after I do the morning program from home. I travel to the studio for the TV because that bit can't be done from home. If I was doing the TV from home, if I was a television reporter and reporting from home, the television company would provide me with a chair up to the value of £250 for my back. Any member of staff working from home is entitled to a chair. Okay? But
right.
The radio bosses reckon my chair at home is good enough. So I can't apply for the chair because I have to travel into the TV. What can I do to get myself a chair?
Yeah, well, that's one of the issues. I mean, I think a lot of people are finding the benefits of working from home, that they're not missing the commute, and it gives people a greater flexibility in terms of fitting in with their work-life balance and, family commitments. And I think people are finding that they're more productive at home. I think that's what a lot of people are saying. But yeah, there are downsides with that, and one of the issues can be that workers can find that the work equipment isn't up to scratch. I'm not singling out your chair here, Frank, of course, but we're expecting, the lawyers are expecting a spike in claims for back injuries and shoulder injuries. Bad posture is always an issue with working over at a desk, and I think that's what a lot of people are doing and have been doing for the last few months during the lockdown. And there is a question of whether they've been provided with the proper equipment to carry out the work. Employers have a duty of care to all employees to make sure that they provide a safe and healthy workplace for their workers, whether that's at home or actually physically in the building, office, factory, or wherever they might work. So those duties continue. I mean, a lot of the work that I do myself is for businesses and for claims against the likes of architects and those that are involved in the construction industry, where there still is the requirement to keep social distance measurements of 2 meters as it is still in Northern Ireland. There will be a greater burden, obviously, on employers to make sure that they provide personal protective equipment for their workers. It's also putting a bit of a strain on the business sector in terms of, the lockdown itself has contributed to that, because it's prevented the likes of surveyors and architects from carrying out their surveys physically, and they haven't been able to travel in recent weeks, and so they've had to sort of assume measurements which they would have taken actually by visiting the sites and going to the properties themselves. So we can see a number of areas where there's going to be claims coming out of the lockdown. There are other businesses like financial advisors who are dealing with very volatile markets, and they're going to have they're going to have to make sure that they monitor the markets to make sure that they have got the investments in the right place, because the markets have been going up and down. We're also expecting a number of claims against insurance brokers, because a lot of businesses will have taken out insurance to protect them in the event of their businesses not being able to trade. So businesses will have business interruption cover, which will cover them in that event. And what a number of businesses have found is that they don't have the cover that protects them in the case of the pandemic that we've had. So there's cases going on in England. There's quite a number of cases involving businesses that don't have the right cover. So I think it's very important for business owners to make sure that they ensure that they speak to their insurance brokers and insurance companies and make sure that they have the best insurance cover available. Because I suppose it's the same with anything. If they don't have the protections in place for their workers, which I mentioned, then they need to make sure that they have insurance cover to cover those claims if they do come about.
Is it going to be a field day for solicitors in the future? There will be so many claims and litigious approaches from people looking for a quick buck that the law firms are going to be very busy. Well,
what we generally tend to find is that when there is an economic downturn, Frank, there is a spike in claims. I think people always want to find someone to blame when the chips are down, if you like. So we do expect a rise in some claims. I mean, there will be other areas where lawyers will be suffering. I'm not going on about poor lawyers and I'm not expecting any sympathy, but the likes of the roads have been very quiet in the last few months, so we're expecting a drop in the motor road traffic claims that we've had, and I mean that's changing now as the roads are becoming busier. But I suppose there are some areas, as I say, for the business community and for workers, the shops that are reopening again will also have to take account of personal protective equipment and make sure that customers are kept in a safe environment, as well as employees as well.
And finally, Graeme, would we have a claim, those people who are working from home, if this continues longer term? Because at present it's the summertime and very few people will be running their heating. But if we get into October and this continues through to Christmas and we're at home and we're having to run the heating and the lighting all day to work from home, would we have a claim against our employers to pay our electricity and heating bill?
Well, I think that's. I'm not sure that there's any precedent on that, but I suppose that again this goes back to the duties that employers have to make sure that the workplace is suitable for the work that's being carried out. I think it's only fair for employers to make sure that their employees are kept safe, and that some contribution will have to be made. I mean, the most obvious one, as I say, is in relation to the working equipment. Do they have, laptops? Do they have a risk assessment should really be carried out when you're in the workplace to make sure that you are sitting in a correct position and that your chair is suitable and your desk and monitor are at the right height. So, those are the ones that are the most urgent. I think the other issue is, of course, if employers aren't working with their workers to make sure that they are provided for, not least safe, but also content in their working environment, then that will have a big impact on morale. And of course, mental health is a big issue. It's been a big issue during the lockdown, and that's. I think employers will have to do more to try and maintain the workers that they've got.
It's interesting. It really is. It isn't something that I'd given much thought to, but now that you say it, I must get James from our computer department round to the house to measure how far my laptop is off the floor and whether or not he can improve the posture of my back, if he could massage my shoulders in some way to ensure that I'm in position and ready for action. Graeme, good speaking to you. Graeme from BLM Law, just reminding us indeed of the I suppose the duties and responsibilities of the employer, even when we're working from home.
Now that business is coming back,